Hi everyone and welcome to another video with me, Fleur Charms. I've been doing a lot of research into the Walt Disney World dining plan lately, and I've come to discover there's not that much information on dining at Disneyland Paris, so I decided to keep a log of everything we ate on my recent trip. So on the first night we went to Market House Deli. Liam had the ham and cheese toasty, and that was tasty, and I had this bruschetta. I found that to be really nice, and Market House Deli was a lot cheaper for stuff than some of the other places we ate. A lot of the other places you have to buy a sort of meal, so it ends up being more expensive. Whereas here, all of the items sold in this cafe on Main Street are about €7.50. I also had this 25th anniversary carrot cake. I absolutely love carrot cake. I discovered I loved it a couple of years ago in Florida, and I thought this was really tasty. It was $3.99 and it was a good sized portion, and this was the only place I found them serving the carrot cake, so I had to go back for more later in the holiday. On Tuesday it was very hot. We were very lucky with the weather, so everywhere they were selling ice cream, and of course there's the Gibson Girl ice cream parlour on the end of Main Street, you can see there. It takes the place of the Main Street ice cream parlour in the Magic Kingdom. The number of scoops you always get the 25th waffle. They're all Ben & Jerry's flavours, so I had the pecan vanilla blondie and strawberry cheesecake, and they were both absolutely amazing. I personally love Ben & Jerry's ice cream. Liam was a little disappointed that they didn't have any mint choc chip flavours because that's his favourite, but they had a variety of flavours. So on Tuesday we also had some fun in Disney Village, as you can see. We went to Vapiano, which is actually outside the sort of security gates of the Disney Village. So it's on the Walt Disney Studios side, and I had a bruschetta, carbonara and a Diet Coke. So when you order pasta in Vapiano, you have to go up to a station, and the chef there, you make your order to the chef and they cook it fresh for you. The same went for the bruschetta. So everything there is cooked fresh. You pick what pasta you want and they cook it there and then. I had the carbonara and it was really, really nice. The bruschetta was also nice, but the tomatoes kind of kept falling off of it. But I would thoroughly recommend going to Valpiano if you're a smaller party. If there's a lot of you, it's quite hard to time it so that you're all eating at the same time. And we liked that so much that we actually went back on Thursday, so you'll get to see what I ate on Thursday. For dinner that night we went to Cafe Hyperion. Now this was an awful night because we traipsed around the park looking for food for ages, and most places were closed because it's technically low season. These were just covered in cheese. This was probably the worst meal of the holiday. It was sloppy. Liam had to sort of scrape all the cheese off. The things were just falling apart because there was so much of this sauce on them. So this was a $12.99 meal. I got a sort of dessert, a drink, chips and this chicken sandwich. As you can see, I'm struggling a little bit to eat it because, as I said, it was so sloppy. So I wouldn't eat there again, though I did have the Jedi burger when we were there at Christmas and I enjoyed that, so I probably just wouldn't have the chicken burger again. So the ladies sat behind us came up to us when they'd finished and said they had an ice cream which they hadn't redeemed and would we like it, and of course we said yes, even though we'd been eating like pigs all day. And it was a king cone, so that was really tasty. The vanilla ice cream on it was actually really nice, and it was a treat because the weather was about 35 degrees on Tuesday. As I said, we were lucky with the weather. Wednesday lunchtime we went to Earl of Sandwich. That's in the Disney Village. It's opposite Cafe Mickey, and this is a favourite of mine. They basically do sandwiches. It's also in Disney Springs in Florida, and I always have the Earl's meal. Liam had the caprese, which is pesto, basil, mozzarella, and he liked that. I had the tuna melt, which I always have, and I had it as part of the Earl's meal, where you get a drink and a brownie or crisp and the sandwich. Now I have to apologise, it's quite hard to eat a sandwich and operate a camera, but it was really tasty, very cheesy as you can see, and I love tuna. On Wednesday we decided to treat ourselves and do something a bit different. So I'd heard some really good things about Agrabah Cafe, which is a sit-down meal. We didn't reserve or anything, we just turned up and asked if they had a table for two. We had to wait for about 10 minutes before they seated us. Theming in the restaurant is incredible. It's all based around Agrabah, Aladdin, and I've heard great things about it because it caters really well to people who follow like a vegetarian and a vegan diet. And all of the food, most of it, there was not much meat there. The only downside of where we were sat was that we were sat kind of in an outdoor bit, so we were burning up. So that's a typical plate of food, and you'll see all my plates of food here. It was olives, fresh hummus, chickpea stews, cucumber and bread rolls. And then we had some spiced potatoes, they were lovely. There was green beans, rice, again hummus, onion, and there was pita bread so you could make your own kebabs. And then there were sausages, and I had more potatoes, more green beans, more olives, more hummus. Now, I didn't expect to like that sausage, but it was actually really nice. It was one of the few meat offerings that they had. Cafe Agrabah was $32.99 per person, and that included a drink. And that is quite steep, but that seems to be the standard buffet price in Paris. So that's the dessert. It was a raspberry and almond tart and a pistachio pastry. That was amazing and really gooey. And there was also some gingerbread with chocolate chips, and I even liked that. So we went back to Viviano for lunch on Thursday. We sat in a different place this time, and we started with some tomato soup. This is good value because it's only about €2.90 for a small tomato soup, and you get bread with it free of charge. This time I decided to have a pizza rather than pasta, so I had the pizza tano, which was tuna and red onions. As I mentioned earlier, I love tuna, and I've never had tuna on a pizza before, so this was a first for me. Despite it being huge, I of course finished it all. It was €13.90, so not too bad a price, and just like the pasta, they cook everything fresh, so I went up and ordered with the chef. And then I watched him sort of fold the dough and stretch it out and put all the toppings on and then go in the oven. For our Thursday snack, it was about 37 degrees, so we had to have ice cream. They had a special offer on, so it was 3 scoops for the price of 2. And of course, Ben & Jerry's ice cream is super tasty. Later that day, I also had a classic hot dog. Now, Casey's Corner is somewhere that I feel you just have to go when you're in Disney and have a hot dog. I always love the hot dogs in Florida, and of course in Florida you get that amazing toppings bar. They don't have that in Paris, it's kind of stripped back, so I did feel a bit robbed because this was €7 something, and it was just, I don't know, there was nothing special about it basically, so I probably wouldn't go back to Casey's Corner in Paris, though of course I would in Florida. And then, of course, on the last day, I had to have a strawberries and cream drink in Starbucks. I only drink cream frappuccinos in Starbucks because I don't have coffee. And Friday was the only day I saw Starbucks open, so I had to go in and grab one. So thanks for watching this video on my insight into dining at Disneyland Paris. And I just thought I'd give you some tips on things I picked up and I thought about dining in Disneyland Paris while I was there. If you're used to Walt Disney World, it is very different. So here's my top tips. The first tip I would say is to make sure the restaurant you're getting your hopes up about eating at is actually open. We had some great pasta at a place called Colonel Hathie's at Christmas, but that just wasn't open at all. It said it was closed for refurbishment, but it wasn't obvious because we kept walking up to the door and there were no signs anywhere. We only discovered it wasn't open when the doors wouldn't open. So just do a bit of research, make sure where you want to go is open. As I said, during low season, most of the restaurants were closed and we struggled to get anything to eat actually within the parks that wasn't burgers. The second tip would be if the restaurant that you want to eat at is not open at the advertised time, persevere, keep checking back, or check with City Hall that it's actually open. We went to the ice cream parlour a couple of times. We would have liked to go on Friday before we went home, and they actually advertised that the ice cream parlour opens at 11:30 a.m. We left the park just after 12 and it was still not open and there were no signs of it opening. So the times that it gives you on the app are not accurate. So if you want to go somewhere and you know you've got to leave at a certain time, it's probably best to ask in City Hall if it's actually open or not. The third tip is if it's hot, and this probably applies everywhere, not just in a theme park, but if it's hot, carry a bottle and fill up on water at water fountains. There was some long queues that we stood in, but it's worth it, of course, because in Paris and France in general, you won't get a refillable drink. So you really want to go out to your meals already full of water so you don't drink all of your drink straight away. And finally, I'd say just don't compare it to Walt Disney World. The dining is nothing like Walt Disney World. In fact, it's leagues apart. Walt Disney World are renowned for doing some amazing food for all kinds of diets and having some amazing snacks. You don't really come across that in Paris. It's rare to come across a snack that you see that you want to eat. It's really just centered around just eating to keep your body going. It's nothing special really. And as you've seen from the video, most of the food we ate was from the village rather than in the parks. So just be prepared for that. Thanks for watching today, and I hope I've given you some good advice for your upcoming Disneyland Paris trips. Bye!